And I have honestly never seen a company fumble the bag so hard like the WNBA fumbled Caitlin Clark. It sucks that so much of it was riddled with so much drama and so much negativity.
This story goes beyond sports. It serves as a warning about how hubris, opportunistic leadership, and a single catastrophic error may wipe away an empire before it even gets off the ground. The WNBA was holding the golden ticket. A once-in-a-generation celebrity who excelled off the court as well. Cultural currency was what she was. Caitlin Clark was more than just a point-scoring player. She was a force, a movement, and a brand that introduced women's basketball to millions of new people. This should have been a moment of victory for a league that had been fighting for decades to become mainstream. However, they destroyed her rather than uplifting her. They treated her as though she were expendable rather than as the league's savior. And in doing so, they committed a grave error that could follow them for decades. What began as a fairy tale has now escalated into a conflict. Additionally, Caitlin Clark is receiving her retribution. She was holding something far more potent than a ball. Make use of leverage. She is exposing the WNBA's incapacity in the boardroom, which is the one setting where it truly counts. The kicker is this. The Sharks are already stalking rival leagues, multi-billionaire investors, and even non-sporting personalities. They all witness something the WNBA won't acknowledge. More significant than the league itself is Caitlin Clark. How, then, did everything go so wrong? How could the WNBA take the most exciting athlete in years and somehow make her debut a tale of humiliation and treachery? Stay put, because you'll see this is more than simply poor management once you see the stats, the disrespect, and the offers coming in from other leagues. History is rewritten by this type of failure. It seemed more than just like another top draft pick joining the league when Caitlin Clark took the stage on a national level. It seemed as though a movement was about to start. She wasn't merely rewriting history when Clark took over collegiate basketball. She was changing the definition of women's sports in the United States. Every game she played became into a spectacle. The ratings went up. Highlights became widely shared. On playgrounds all throughout the nation, children mimicked her logo-range three-pointers. She was more than just a player now. She represented a culture. The story was already written by the time the WNBA draft arrived. The coronation was meant to take place here. The league had been waiting for anything like this for decades. A celebrity with the ability to popularize the entire sport. The key was Clark. Her influence was instantaneous, and she was the face that could finally provide the WNBA with what it had sorely needed: significance. Her game sold out more quickly than ever before. On resale markets, prices soared. Before Caitlin Clark arrived, whole arenas were packed with spectators, many of whom had never seen a WNBA game in their lives. She attracted millions of new viewers almost immediately, making her an instant ratings magnet. Words could never fully convey the story. Only figures could. Records of attendance were destroyed. Sales of merchandise skyrocketed. The events were too much for even the most casual sports fans to ignore. A league that had languished on the periphery for years had been given new life by Caitlin Clark alone. It ought to have been flawless. It ought to have marked the start of a brand new golden age. As we'll see, however, what first appeared to be a fairy tale swiftly devolved into a nightmare behind the scenes. Because the league reacted with the kind of disdain that would come back to haunt them, even though Caitlin Clark fulfilled all of her promises. There was more than just hype. It was fact. The WNBA's whole ecosystem shifted when Caitlin Clark joined the league. You could see it without squinting. The picture depicted by the numbers was so spectacular that it nearly seemed unreal. For instance, consider attendance. Every previous record was broken by the attendance of her team, the Indiana Fever. The Fever's overall attendance at the end of the season wasn't simply more than everyone else's. It had more supporters than the next closest team in league history. More than 200,000. 200,000. Growth isn't that. That is revolutionary. It didn't end there, either. The nationwide broadcast had a sharp increase in viewership of more than 21%. This wasn't a setback for a league that had been pleading for significance for years. It served as a lifeline. All of a sudden, Caitlin Clark was drawing in viewers who had never watched a WNBA game before. Over time, her accomplishments, rivalries, and influence dominated news cycles. She was a veritable economic force. Every jersey that was sold out, every ticket she sold, and every increase in TV ratings all went straight back into the league. What decades of marketing tactics had failed to do, Clark was able to do in a single season. She brought the WNBA to the attention of the country. The kicker is this. She was still a rookie when she accomplished all of this. She wasn't even at her best yet. Despite this, she was already carrying the league as a whole. Consider that for a moment. For more than 25 years, the WNBA had been trying to find a way to become more popular. They experimented with rebrands, slogans, and everything else. And ultimately, they weren't salvaged by a marketing effort. Caitlin Clark was the one. However, the league made a choice so ill-advised that it would cause a stir in the sports media, rival leagues, and even Wall Street, rather than appreciating her worth and treating her like the superstar she was. Because the WNBA chose to give Caitlin Clark something completely different in return for her setting records for everyone else. Disrespect. The fairy tale broke at this point. Despite the record-breaking ratings, the sold-out arenas, and the jerseys flying off the racks, Caitlin Clark didn't receive recognition as payment. It was a black-and-white print of shame. Her 4-year rookie contract was worth $338,000 in total. That comes to roughly $85,000 annually if you do the math. $85,000. Some assistant coaches earn more than that. That is less than a project manager at a software firm or a mid-level accountant. Nevertheless, this was the woman's salary for maintaining the WNBA's relevance on her own. Let's now put things into context. Within the NBA, a first-round draft choice agrees to a 4-year rookie contract worth around $55 million. It's not a typo. $338,000 versus $55 million. The disparity is so enormous that it hardly seems genuine. Clark was being underappreciated, not underpaid. Compared to her male equivalent, the calculation comes out to almost 162 times less. Not half as much, not 10% less. 162 times. It's more than just a pay disparity. It's a canyon. The league is yelling to the world from a stage that they didn't value their savior. Furthermore, the insult went beyond the salary. Because it sends a message to everyone else when you undervalue a player on paper. She is amenable. She is not a celebrity who needs protection. She is merely another name on the list. There was more to this deal than just a lousy figure. It served as the prelude to a far larger treachery. One where the disrespect would manifest itself physically on the court. The contempt didn't remain in writing. Onto the court it bled. Caitlin Clark became a target almost instantly. The way the league handled her was seen by the opposing players. They took full advantage of the little contract, the lack of protection, and the indication that she was simply another rookie. She encountered a degree of hostility that well above typical defense in each game. Shvees given while she was in the air, hip checks that sent her flying, and off-ball hits intended to break her down rather than protect her. These weren't serious infractions. They were deliberate attempts to scare her and weaken her both mentally and physically. Additionally, the silent referees for the WNBA sucked their whistles. The league office ignored the situation. With her name on the marquee, they were thrilled to sell out arenas. They were content to plaster her face on advertising posters, but they abandoned them when it came time to safeguard the investment that was holding them afloat. An incident that fans are still talking about was the tipping point. During a game, Brittany Gurrier seemed to be caught on camera making a racist comment to Clark. Like wildfire, the video went viral. Lip readers provided feedback. The fans were furious. Nevertheless, the league took no action once more. No suspension, no fines, no investigation. It was an extremely clear message. It was Caitlin Clark alone. Additionally, such message was risky. Because every cheap shot feels justifiable when the officials and the league refuse to enforce the rules. It gets tougher with each shove. The dirtiness increases with each foul. The WNBA was paying a price for its carelessness in sending its best star into combat without protection. One person can only handle so much. Bad contracts can be survived. You can even tolerate rudeness in public. However, the conclusion is inevitable when the physical toll mounts and every game feels like open season for your body. That came to an end for Caitlin Clark on September 5, 2025. The announcement was devastating. Due to a right groin injury, she was declared out for the rest of the WNBA season. It was described as regrettable in the headlines. They referred to it as ill luck. Let's face it though, this wasn't an accident. This was not a chance occurrence. This served as payment for months of carelessness. Remember what she went through. The delicate, risky hits away from the ball, the elbows, the hip checks, and the continuous schvies while she was in the air. Game after game, it piled up as league executives remained mute and officials turned a blind eye. At last, her body broke. And it broke because the mechanism meant to keep her safe never performed as intended, not because she was weak. It wasn't merely a catastrophe that caused the injury. It may have been avoided. It was the logical outcome of a league that was prepared to pay her but not to safeguard her well-being. The WNBA didn't simply lose its biggest star at that precise moment. It revealed that it was unable to care for the individual who had saved it.